What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and we are back for another podcast with more Resident Evil. This time, part 2, part dose of not only the Resident Evil lore, but some fun stuff. We're going to get into our favorite moments of the Resident Evil franchise, and since it is so close to the release date of Resident Evil 8 Village, we're going to be diving into it. So, how you guys doing this morning? We're back again with our guests, our very special guests. And host.
Hi.
Hi. That's you sound scared.
I am a little scared.
What you scared of, cuh?
You.
Well, okay. You know what? I'm gonna back away.
I'm just kidding.
Hello from the other side. If you guys ever wanted to know the history of anything with Resident Evil, please get caught up. Listen to last week's podcast. Inform yourself, as today we're going to be getting into more of the lighthearted type stuff, if we can even call this lighthearted.
Yeah. And then once you learn it, throw it in the trash.
Because Capcom does not care.
They don't care.
Chris is very upset, apparently, about Capcom being a big old disappointment as far as the storyline goes.
Dude, every time.
Look, if there's any way to keep a brand going, they have mastered it for 25 years, okay? So
They have.
I can't really blame them. We're just going to buy Resident Evil games forever.
By the time we're going to be in a nursing home, it'll be only then that they will discover their true plot line.
Yes. Old and decayed.
I knew it. I knew it.
I know. Honey, where are my dentures? Give me my dentures and my Resident Evil stick. I want to beat the shit out of Capcom.
You knew what? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yep. That's more likely.
So long.
Honestly.
It's been 84 years.
That's bullshit.
Okay. Let's get into it. So,
What's first?
your theory, like what you think is happening behind the scenes
My theory's in the trash. It's in the trash.
Okay,
It's
so
incinerated.
all right, okay. So
You need to resurrect that
right.
shit.
So we use resurrection at 6th level, and we're resurrecting this theory. Let's put the disclaimer that it may not apply to Village completely, but I think that there is some real validity to it because of what we discussed in last week's podcast. There's a theme that goes throughout all of the Resident Evil games, books, the plays, and apparently there's a musical coming out. So there's a musical as well.
Wait a second. Wait, is it gonna be like in Monsters Inc. where they got the no, that's not Monsters Inc. That's Buffy, where they're like talking about mustard and everything like that.
I don't know.
Maybe. No, I think it's called like Gaia's Gift or Gaia's something. And it's a musical that's, I'm pretty sure, going to be in Japan. There has already been like several plays in Japan that have been done for Resident Evil. So it's not exactly new territory. I don't know. They've just this is what they've decided to do. But yeah, so let's talk about it's not little, but the theory that you have here,
Okay.
Chris. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still going to go with none of it's pertaining to Resident Evil Village.
Mm.
But we do have themes. Since we have the themes of cloning,
Mm-hmm.
cloning everywhere, and then specifically embryonic cloning as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the themes of mind control, mind transfer, even like mind adaptation with the leeches.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it is a search for immortality because it all started with Spencer trying to become a god.
Yeah. Well, I have a statement on that real quick. So I think that I don't know that it's just Spencer. I think Spencer was just the one who from what we've seen, has taken it the furthest.
Well, it's not obviously not just Spencer. The reason I say him is because he was always killing the competition.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It started with him, Marcus, and Ashford.
Hmm.
And if we're going to count the side canon story with the Beardsleys as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and to tie it into Resident Evil 8 really quick, we see there's an image in the trailer of 4 symbols, and in the center is the logo of Umbrella.
Well,
And
no, it's not. It's like looks like some kind of pillar.
Yes.
On the bottom and the top is the logo of the umbrella.
Oh, no, there's okay. Well, the logo of Umbrella is like associated with um this imagery. No. I'm correct. There's the four symbols, and I'll send it to you. But and then at the center is Umbrella. I'm gonna send it to you here.
Are you talking about the puzzle?
I'm assuming
like
it's
a
a
puzzle?
puzzle. It looks very much like a puzzle, yeah.
Okay.
I
Because there's
sent-
another one where it's like a big mural on the wall,
Right.
and it has all the houses.
Mm-hmm.
So it has like House Dimitrescu on the top left, top right House Buenavito,
Mm-hmm.
and then Heisenberg and the other one. But in the middle, it's like a big, maybe an altar or a big pillar.
Yeah. There's actually, and it's interesting. There is a painting. I can also send that to you guys in a minute. But there's a painting that I think has to do with Mother Miranda that we'll talk about later. That also has sort of like this abstract version of what looks like the symbol, and then a pillar at the center. Um, but we'll get into that later. So if we take Spencer, um, the Ashfords, Beardsleys, and Marcus, they could all have come from these houses, or like maybe a lineage of these houses, and grew up with a particular philosophy that kind of pushed them in this direction to start, with the cloning and mind transfer and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I focused on Spencer because we know that Daniela and Lady D and them are at least coming from the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to do any theory crafting on who Mother Miranda is, I assume she would be someone just as old, or if not older than these guys.
Yeah.
Well, even with the name suggests it being older as well, because Mother Miranda, it sounds kind of like she's in a nunnery, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe not the actual mother, but like a nickname, like a nun type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Or even just being the matriarch of a group. You know what I mean? That mother doesn't necessarily, like you said, doesn't necessarily imply a blood relation, but perhaps she has been the head of a household for a very long time, and maybe requires some things to happen to continue her long life. Hence the mention of a ceremony in the one Resident Evil 8 playthrough. Yeah, so maybe there's some requirements there, but we'll get into that later. But I think that these 4 families that we are familiar with have to do with these families that we're going to be introduced to in Resident Evil 8.
Yeah. Anyway, my whole theory was having to do with the Wesker kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because Alex and Albert took over pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was also took over HCF, which was working in conjunction with the Connections to make the mold.
Yes.
Which means like when Lucas was selling the E-type virus to someone, I don't think it would be the HCF because the HCF would have a sample because they helped create it, right?
Right.
Or maybe not. I don't fucking know. But if the biggest thing is like Umbrella Corp is canon, that's 2 years after Wesker supposedly died, and you can hear him and this mysterious corporate leader.
Yes.
Yeah, and their whole thing was developing anti-BOW weapons, which is what Blue Umbrella used to get the BSA to work together with them, and then specifically requested Chris Redfield, of all people in the BSAA, to work with them.
Yes. So, if whoever listened to last week's podcast will remember us discussing the very specific events that speak to this, but it is very interesting that they specifically request Chris. Like, and we do know that Wesker has a little bit of a vendetta against Chris, but also like recognizes Chris's skill. Do you know what I mean? Because what does he say? He's like, "You've always been my best man," or something like that.
Yep.
So like he recognizes Chris's skill, his ability, and his just not just in like combat, but just like to survive in general. And so I think there's a little bit of like a weird admiration there. But he has chosen Chris as his like adversary, and so if we go based off of the evidence of that one program where they were running the experiment, and you hear Wesker's voice at various points within that game, and we assume that he is this mysterious upper echelon leader of the company. And we have evidence of clones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that person that was training in these simulations may be a clone of Chris.
It just could be Hunk.
Or Hunk.
Because they call him the New Grim Reaper. But Chris and Hunk have that connection where every time they work with the team, every single person except them dies.
Yes. I have said to my Chris that what if Hunk is a clone of Chris? I know that seems far-fetched, but like, what if he's a clone of Chris? You never see his face. Well, yeah. That's not true. You do see his face in one of the games, right?
Yeah, when you beat the fourth survivor on like Resident Evil 2, the first one. You see like a drawing of him. I don't think he's a clone because they're like around the same age. And this was way before like the cloning got perfected. I don't even want to say perfected, but they're like around the same age.
Oh, okay.
All right, this is before seed virus, so you can't just like turn someone into someone else. You would have to put it into an embryo.
Oh,
like
I
the
see.
Ashfords.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
And then they would have to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it would make him, if he was a clone of Chris, it would make him younger, like visually younger than Chris. Okay, so We'll X that theory.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time looking at the thing that the developers said that they didn't even want to show anybody with the nest, the crow's wing, and the little embryo. Because they said that it shows so much. Bro, I don't see shit.
Okay.
It really doesn't show too much. Like it kind of looks like the little chicken baby from the teaser of PT Silent Hills. You know the thing in like the sink where it's just like
yeah.
It just I don't know why I first thought of that. Like it just I don't know, if you tilt your head a certain way, it kind of looks like that.
No, you're right. I mean, 'cause it looks like a fetus, but it very specifically looks like a chicken fetus.
Because for me, when it's like painted or just looking at it, the wings look like the beginnings of an umbrella symbol. Right? And it's placed on a nest, and that's what they called the laboratory for where William Birkin was working at. And then they launched Operation Nest Wrecker on it.
Right.
But I think it's interesting if you look at the fetus, there's like a little scar on its head,
Yeah.
like very reminiscent of like Nemesis or like
Mm-hmm.
when they put the parasite in him to control the mind. And
Right.
obviously it's a mutated fetus as well.
Right. Right. It's definitely not like a regular fetus, but I think there's something there. When I was watching the trailers and just like the different showcases that they had, the developers were like, "This is a very important image." Like you said, it has a ton of information in it. I think
Yeah.
it suggests rebirth,
Well,
or
yeah,
birth
because like
in
they were
general.
working on embryos a lot, and then it's surrounded by this like circle thing with 4 pegs.
Yeah.
So maybe the 4 houses.
Right. And the four houses coming together to maybe create
This thing.
this whatever yeah, exactly, whatever this
Yeah.
thing is. The fact that there is a character called Mother Miranda, perhaps she is the catalyst to whatever this
That
thing.
little fetus thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, whatever this little fetus thing ends up becoming.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that so in the beginning of the trailer,
Mhm.
what we assume to be Mia or maybe a Mia doppelganger, who the fuck knows? But she's reading the Village of Shadows to Rosemary,
Right.
and the Village of Shadows is actually an old Hindu story. It actually like it can be related to like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but it is a Hindu story, and starring the goddess Parvati, a Hindu goddess of fertility, love, beauty, harmony, marriage, children, devotion, strength, and power. So some type of fertility goddess.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
And we all know that vampires are immortal, so that would kind of give way to the theory of creating clones of something because Mother Miranda can never die.
yeah, Parvati
Right.
is also the wife of the Hindu god Shiva, who, according to Shaivism, is the protector, the destroyer, and the regenerator of the universe.
Ooh.
Exactly.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. That kind of leans into all of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially like Albert, or not Albert, I'm sorry, Spencer wanted to create the perfect race to which he would be the god of.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always a little sus of that scene because like Spencer's just like chilling and he has like eyes everywhere and it's like he purposely gets up to look at Wesker knowing that he's gonna kill him.
Yeah. Is
So
it
it's
Go ahead.
almost like doesn't Spencer just have like a backup plan? Did he just get up and
Right.
die and that's it?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It also is very reminiscent of Wesker in the first game when he releases the Titan. The
Yes.
Titan.
That was
The
my idea. Yeah.
Yeah, where he releases the fucking thing and it stabs him in the same place. It stabs him straight through the fucking
Yep.
chest.
Ooh, maybe Wesker is Spencer.
Imagine that
Oh
would
no.
be
Okay.
fucking wild.
We
but-
know he's not, right?
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't know who
If that were the case, then Capcom is going apeshit, honestly.
we don't know who Wesker's mother is.
Right.
Like actual birth mother
Mm-hmm.
or father, actually.
Right. Yeah.
But it is when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, it's the same thing that happened to Wesker. Like he needed to die, and if you hear Wesker talk about it, he's like that death was necessary.
I wonder if Wesker knew something about that.
Well, I'd be probably.
I mean, he probably did, right? Because he knows so much about just all of it. But for him to very specifically say, that particular death was necessary. I know there's an assumption that like he hated Spencer, but I don't know that he did. I don't know that he like. I don't know. I don't know that he hated Spencer. Because Spencer really made him what he was, right? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always that hatred, that the created has for its creator.
oh,
So.
there is that theme, isn't there? I I don't. Well, this calls into question: have we really seen the last of Spencer? Um, but what we do know, right, is Spencer is of nobility, is he not?
Yeah, in a way, he could be.
Right? Like, isn't he an earl or something like that? Yeah, he was an earl. I'm pretty sure he was an earl. Uh, and so perhaps Spencer himself, like I said earlier, what if he comes from a lineage where they believe in a particular philosophy, right? And that's what kickstarts this whole thing, this whole search for immortality, this ideal of creating the perfect humans, which he tries to do in Project Wesker, right? And then wants to be the god of. Um, how I wonder if that what if he's from House Dimitrescu, right? I don't I don't know what else to call them, but like what if he's from one of these houses, particularly Dimitrescu, to which he knows immortality is a thing and that can be achieved, and he simply wants to be the god of it. And so he wasn't
It would be surprising.
right, and it doesn't scare him when Albert shows up and kills him.
No, it's not. And that's the thing of where I feel like it kind of comes full circle in a way.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, right? Because you just never know where they're gonna fucking go with this, right? Um, but from what they've provided, there's there's sort of like hints of that of like maybe we know immortality is the thing. We know that that's the goal, right? Whether it be Spencer trying to achieve it or Albert or anybody, right? I think there is something to be said for the fact that there is this little town in what looks like Transylvania.
Yeah, honestly, it really does.
you know, where there are these vampire slash witch women living in a castle who have been there since the 1950s. Specifically, the girls, the daughters, the quote daughters, they are very much they're not just vampires, they are witches. I am curious about the Matrescu, the lady, the tall vampire lady. um, so the castle itself, right, is from the 15th century.
Which isn't that the same time that Dracula was around? The story of Dracula?
Yeah. Yeah, the story of Dracula takes place in the 15th century. Which is fascinating, you know. But I do wonder if there's not some significance there, and if Lady D is a lot older than the girls, you know, like she's been there for a long time, and then she accumulates these girls. We watched a video where someone was saying the girls' names. It's Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela, and then Lady Dimitrescu, her name is Alcina, and that's ABCD, and that it's very reminiscent of the mold project for Evelyn. She's actually a part. She's a part of like a series where they are alpha, beta. Like it goes to E with Evie. So maybe I don't know. Maybe Rosemary would be a part of this and renamed an E name. I don't know. But there's that connection there, which is interesting.
They're also just to kind of flip the coin a little bit. There's also like different theories that are going around that I saw particularly interesting. Was that Umbrella may be controlling our main character Ethan with the parasites used in Resident Evil 4.
Oh wait, okay. Which in Resident Evil 4? Remind me which parasites were in that?
Las Plagas.
The Las Plagas.
That he has like some version of it.
Yeah, and that they made it more suitable for like human mind control. That way their heads wouldn't go all exploding and everything.
I mean, it's possible, right? And then he was in the baker's house with Evelyn and gets infected by the mold, which also causes that kind of like hive mind control situation.
I don't think he's being controlled. I think he's being manipulated by having his daughter kidnapped.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is that the question that I had whenever I was watching the trailer, because obviously I'm misremembering some of this stuff, the little fetus turkey baby thing that's inside the circle with the feathers,
Yeah.
it's kind of like reminding me, like if you see closely, and I have a picture of it over here, I can
Hmm.
send it. There is a tentacle coming out of like the part of the neck
Yeah.
and the back and then the leg area. Who
Uh-huh.
else had
Yeah.
tentacles within the Resident Evil universe? Lisa Trevor.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
she had it too. She took
I was gonna
according
say
to the
everything.
yeah, they
That's
fucking
true.
loaded that little girl with a bunch of different viruses. But
Yeah. I think they actually
yes,
found the G virus from her, right?
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the tentacles specifically coming out of her back, that she's, from what I've seen, I may be wrong, from what I've seen, she's the only one that's had tentacles specifically coming out of her back. Yeah, so maybe a connection there. Maybe they discovered something in that. Um, I'm very curious as to the importance of Rosemary to all this, right? Like she,
We were talking about how Jake was born with the anti-C type
yes.
antivirus
Mm-hmm.
or the antibodies, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
If Rosemary is born from Ethan and Mia, then she's gonna have anti-mold like
yeah, yeah.
antibodies.
Yeah,
She's been
possibly.
right, an immunity to the mold. Maybe they want to take Rosemary to take those antibodies.
Yeah, I mean they could be used both ways, right? They can be used as a cure and they can be used to enhance the virus further.
Right, right. Um, there's so much that we like just don't know about Resident Evil 8. Um, but there's some things I did want to discuss about Resident Evil 8 when it comes to the way that they've designed this building that may give us some clues. Um, there's a room. I believe it's in the playthrough that you get to see it. Um, but the walls are covered with a relief of what looks like two armies fighting against each other. And I wonder what that is supposed to be. Like, was there some war, right? Going on in which these four families kind of band together to create, a virus to try to end the war, and that's sort of like the start of it all, the start of this whole thing.
It could. I mean, there's so many different things that are kind of not conflating, but like different things that we think we know one thing, and then we're seeing into the theory, but it confuses itself with that theory, and then we have to go back and scratch it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot here, to be honest. Um, okay, but let's get back on track here. So
Yeah.
your
I think
theory.
the only solid things we have is that HCF was in conjunction with the connections to
Mhm,
make the mold virus. The mold virus is what you see in Resident Evil 7,
mhm,
right? Um, so there's your connection to like Wesker, Ada, or whatever. Lucas is also working for the connections and then wanted to cut ties and sell this data to a buyer, an unknown buyer, to which Chris stops that data transfer by shooting the computers.
mhm. Yes.
Right, and then we see Chris is now working with this blue umbrella, who
Which,
specifically asked for him out of
yeah,
everyone in the BSAA,
yeah.
uh, which Chris is a part of the Silver Dagger program with three other people, so there's four of them.
Mhm.
Um, and the patch, well, they're allowed to do extra legal things, which means illegal things to get their mission done,
Mhm.
which could be what you see happening when they bust into Ethan's place.
Yeah. And shoot what,
But
maybe
you don't
Mia?
see them. You don't see his like he's not. Those aren't like BSA uniforms or Blue Umbrella uniforms. They're like wearing like fucking ski masks and shit.
Right. What if he like?
So people are saying like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe he just went rogue or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like very un-Chris-like.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not in his personality, for sure. But
those connections are like you kind of got like a pseudo connection between like Wesker's because of the ACF and the connections with Ada.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all in Resident Evil 7.
Right.
So is Umbrella.
Yes.
Well, the thing is that like there's so many people who are saying like not to write off the fact that don't that don't write off the idea of like Resident Evil 8 being tied to Spencer, because in that puzzle that was shown before, the picture that you sent over, Shass, that directly ties it to Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Umbrella symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But then you also have like the other things on the side. You have the horse, you have the mermaid, you have the other two symbols which I can't see as well. But it says like here in an article that I found, which I thought might be of some relevance, where a popular theory that is these sigils on here represents the three houses of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation: Marcus, Ashford, Oswald, and Spencer, along with the fourth unknown founder. So maybe Dimitrescu has a little bit to do with that founder.
Yeah.
Maybe Mother Miranda is the fourth founder.
Yeah, maybe.
You know? And she's just been quietly working away in the mountains of Transylvania over here, you know. Yeah.
Which it all ties to Resident Evil 4 as well. I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of had, like, you know, in the trailer when you have that one old guy who comes in and he's like, what are you doing here? Like, you know, who sent you? All that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of the chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4, but human version.
There's a chainsaw?
Chainsaw guy.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4, the obnoxious guy who had the chainsaw.
I was like, chainsaw guy?
Yep, that dude who just kept killing us over and over again.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, there's some prequelness to that as well, a little bit.
There's also, speaking of that, there's some ideas that Barry is in the game as one of these older male characters. There's like it's like maybe 2 seconds long, but there's a 2-second frame where you see this older gentleman that seems to be like walking into the village, where people think that he's Barry. And if he is, then that's another character from the past that is being, brought into this story.
Listen, I don't need them messing with my heart right now, okay? They didn't put him into the remake of number 3 as one of the endings, which pissed me the fuck off. I don't need them playing with my heart right now.
Oh, also, I was discussing this earlier. I think there's going to be multiple endings to Resident Evil 8.
If that's the case, then that would make things more well-rounded, too.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Because there was multiple endings in Revelation 2 with, like, the good ending and the bad ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's almost always a secret ending.
Yeah. So I think that I don't think that you need to throw away your theories, because there may be an ending that, corroborates it.
Yeah, because when Wesker stole all the information from the Red Queen and downloaded it, he realized that Spencer had plans to control the world, and then all of a sudden was hiding from it, which is why he went to go find him.
Right, which is interesting. What does that mean? Like, why do that? Is it?
Yeah, so the big things that keep sticking out in my head is that in the beginning of the trailer it says his story ends, and we don't know who this he they're referring to is. Mm-hmm. So if we're gonna say it's Spencer's, it says his story comes to a close. That doesn't mean that he dies. It just means that the story finishes, right?
Right.
And even if they did die, their story still continues through other people and other means.
Yeah, through legacy.
And because these this place seems to take these people seem to be so old. That's why Spencer is like my top candidate for his story coming to a close, because this is all because of Spencer.
Right. Right. The whole Resident Evil everything is because of Spencer. He's the one who pushed it all into motion, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's also mostly because of Albert Wesker. Right.
Which is technically Spencer's protege, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the things that keep leaping out at me is that Umbrella Corps is canon, and you had this unknown mysterious figure voiced by DC Douglas, who's the voice of Wesker. Then you had the DLC with Chris, which is labeled not a hero. And then it says his story ends. We don't know whose story. But there's a he. And then we see the umbrella symbol finally being brought back into play, like the original, like red and white one.
Yes. And because, as we mentioned there, we have themes of cloning, right? Which eventually gets perfected in the C virus.
Which links to this embryo here that we're looking at, right?
Right. And then we have evidence of not just physical cloning, but also like behavioral cloning in Clara and Dr. Is that her name? Dr. Carla. That's her name. Carla. Dr. Carla. Where she
can like transform.
Yeah.
Almost like a transformation, not even like a clone. It's like you transform one person into another.
Right.
Right. So like I was hoping that all of those leads over the 25 years would lead to this moment with the Tyrant Project, the T virus, progenitor virus, the cloning, the mind transferring, mind altering, all that stuff could be into that fetus that we see there, like whatever they created, mixed all those things together finally.
Right.
Which is the ceremony. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Also, right. There is a relief within I'm assuming the castle, but it could
the door.
The door, but it may not be in the castle. It may just be at another place within the map, which we see the map is like fucking huge. So I don't know. I heard apparently that this game is supposed to be as short as like Resident Evil 5. But I don't know how you have that big of a world that apparently is going to be open enough for you to explore and have this game be as short as Resident Evil 5. I don't know how true that is. But anyway,
because we're speed runners and we're gonna jump through the walls.
That's also fair.
Because like Lady D that's her last name. We don't know her first name.
Yes, we do. Her Lady D's first name is Alcina.
Alcina. Oh, so it is A.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
her name.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bella, Cassandra,
Daniela,
and then there's like they think like Ethan.
Right, would be
Echo, but it also like links to all of the test subjects from the mold because Alpha through Delta were failures, but Evelyn was the success.
So there's I think there's a little bit of credence to that thought actually.
But I also we don't know if there's been further experimenting, like maybe there's a foxtrot.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't. We don't know if there's other versions of.
But going back to the door, I like the door
because
in Resident Evil, if you play the original ones, the door opening cutscenes, wherever you went through a door, it was like a giant door, and then you walk through it and you went to the next room.
Right.
I like when they bring those back. But the door has like big relief that looks like that painting of what's his name eating his child.
Of technically it's Kronos eating one of his children, but I think the actual mythology is labeled as Saturn, which is Kronos, eating Jupiter, and then Juno coming to save Jupiter.
So that fits that imagery fits like 2 to 3 different groups that we know.
Right. So there is a lot of people who think that it's Spencer as the demon thing eating Albert, representative of Albert Wesker, kind of like essentially like being consumed by the legacy of Spencer. And then Alex, his sister, being the one to kind of come and defend him against Spencer. I am more inclined to think that it is representative of Wesker eating Chris and either Jill or Claire coming to save him. I'm leaning more towards that.
I think it's interesting if you look at the left side of the door, they have this like figure who's like impaled, very, Dracula like, Vlad the Impaler like. But that's also how like Spencer and Wesker died. They get like impaled, and then they're reborn, and then there's like a descent into madness on like the right side.
Actually, so this is an archway. I'm looking at the picture right now, right? And so you have at the bottom what looks like on the left side of the archway flames. There are people within these flames staring up in horror at multiple people that are set up on spikes. Then on the top of this part of the door, the doorway itself, you see more spikes and people at the bottom that seem to be like running towards these spikes, maybe being the ones to put the people on the spikes. And then the archway comes all the way around where people are falling and descending into a mass of hands that are reaching upward.
Yeah. Like almost like a zombie horde.
Yeah.
Like hell or whatever.
Right. And so that's interesting, perhaps representative of maybe actual events, like of an actual war in which these things happened. And then, on the actual door, which looks to be a puzzle where I think you're going to need to look for some faces here, of the demon consuming someone, and then a woman with a shield that has a ram's head on it, and a spear coming to fight that demon. Yeah. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah. But then there's the shield with the goat on it.
Yeah, that's what Juno's holding. I'm calling her Juno, but the female.
Yeah, that's what she's holding. But it doesn't look like she's holding it in the mural. Looks like it's just in front of the demon dude. But there's still a goat. There's still a goat in the village. And then, like, if you've played Resident Evil 4, there was, like, the goat ornament relief.
Yeah.
Puzzle thing.
There's also a statue in the middle of the village, right? In Resident Evil 8, there's a statue of this same woman holding a spear up, and she's holding this same shield. Yeah. With the ram's head. So yeah. So we're seeing imagery repeat even within the village itself.
Even with the Umbrella Corporation logo, because if you notice the one that the fetus is in, it spreads out the same way as the Umbrella Corporation logo.
Wings. Yeah, with the wings. Yeah. There's a lot to work with here. I think I really, and maybe I'm just like putting too much hope into Capcom, but I really think that they're going to try to come full circle, at least with the Spencer Wesker situation, Yeah. I think they're going to circle back to Chris, right? Take this with a grain of salt because, we don't really know. But Chris had a very interesting theory about in-game Chris and Wesker, if you want to share that.
Yes. So those so with all those like mind transfer and things taking place, the moment where Chris gets like random fucking amnesia and goes missing for exactly 6 months until they find him. I was thinking, is it possible that somebody could have gotten to Chris and injected him with T-Phobos or something like that? And then it takes a period of time to incubate, in which you kind of see like a descent of Chris Redfield, because after that he is convinced to go back to the BSAA by Pierce. And that's like the only time he has PTSD. Like he doesn't get PTSD when his longtime partner Jill jumps out the fucking window and is dead. He doesn't get PTSD like any other moment other than when like his men get killed by Carla.
Right.
And then we see that he comes back in Resident Evil 7 as not a hero. And then when we see him again in Resident Evil 8, he is fully dressed like Wesker, holding a Wesker gun. And interestingly enough, it has a silencer on it, which Wesker is the first character to use a silencer in the video games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you know, goes in there and supposedly that Ethan and Mia are held in BSAA safe houses. So, like, they had control of them. And the entire time, whenever Chris goes to get someone, he says, I'm going to bring them in regardless. So he's like, we're going to bring Wesker in. His goal was never to actually kill him or any of the villains. He wants to, like, bring them in, like, for justice.
Right,
and,
do it the right way.
Then he just runs into these people who they have control over because they're in the safe houses, kills an unarmed woman, and then steals the baby. And it looks like, you know, he is using his family as leverage to get Ethan to do what he wants. And that's a very Wesker MO.
Yeah, that's literally what Wesker did to Barry.
Yeah, so do you think that like Chris is Wesker?
That there was some sort of so if you remember us talking about Alex Wesker and her plan for mind transfer, right? And how for the T Phobos virus to be successful in integrating with a person, that person cannot feel fear. You see that with the little girl Natalia, who experienced the events on Terra Grigia, she, because of her PTSD, cannot feel fear. And so the T Phobos is successful in Natalia, and the mind transfer of Alex Wesker into Natalia is successful, right? Whether you get the good or bad ending of that game, you figure out that she's successful. And so the theory is that in that moment that Chris experiences apparently PTSD, that he ends up in a hospital, he's knocked out for a period of time. And so we're thinking, well, what if, because we've seen it before from Umbrella, what if someone came in as a spy, whatever, injected him with the T Phobos virus? He wakes up from the hospital, and apparently he like wakes up and runs away from the hospital. Like he just breaks out of the hospital, and then is wandering around this city, drinking and like consumed and smoking again, and consumed by a guilt that he can't remember why he feels guilty, right? So and that period of time that he's going through that until Piers finds him is exactly 6 months, which Alex Wesker says that the T Phobos needs 6 months to incubate, right? So there's that. We're led to believe in Resident Evil 5 that Wesker has died, right? But the games, the Umbrella Corps are said to be canon by the developers. So if Wesker's actually alive, it is possible that a mind transfer of Wesker has occurred. You go the entire games of Resident Evil seeing Chris in the color green and like varying colors of green. He is right.
Now he's in like black and gray and blue.
He rarely wears long sleeves, and for the most part is in tactical gear that is reminiscent of the military, right? Usually he's in short sleeves. The guy is not like, you know what I mean? He doesn't really cover up.
He wants to show off those muscles,
man.
He's
got to show off the gun, right? He goes his entire career, even with Wesker. Wesker is very clearly evil, and it would be best to bring him down, right? The whole time he is, until he is brought to like in Resident Evil 5, until he's brought to the point where like it is not possible to bring Wesker in, he is spending the entire time going, we're going to bring you in. And he does this to every like villain or, you know, antagonist they come across. He never is like, let me just fucking kill this person. He's always like, let's bring him in. Let's do this the right way. And then to have him in Resident Evil 7 be labeled as not a hero in that DLC, it does not add up. his outfit has changed as well. He's still in tactical gear at that point, but he is in all black. Um, the what are they called? The anti-bio weapon that's named the Albert. Like, that's hello. But anyway, so he's using that gun, right? And then by the time we get to Resident Evil 8, someone who we have always viewed as a hero, and has always been very clear on where his moral line is a part of a team that is doing illegal acts to accomplish missions. He is no longer wearing any kind of green or his normal attire. In fact, he is in a turtleneck and in a pea coat that has a high collar, very reminiscent of Wesker. He is using the Albert, the gun, with a silencer, and he is doing exactly what Albert did in the first game to Barry, where he is using Ethan's child to manipulate him into going and collecting whatever he needs to collect in the city, right? So what if there is a mind transfer that's occurred and there is an inner battle within Chris going to happen in this game of Wesker taking over?
At this point right now, I don't know.
Chris's mind.
At this point in time, I would like to phone a friend.
Yeah, no,
please.
we don't know, but that's why it's.
I would like to call a reference, because this entire theory, all of these lores, everything that's compiled, people are probably listening, going, "What the fuck?"
It's possible.
Yeah, it's also like Resident Evil 7. When you make the cure for the E-type virus, you make it from the D types that were created, and there was 8 kids, but you can find, I think, 3 of them in the game. So one little girl you find in like that house where you like crawl through the small door, and she's sitting in the chair, and you take her arm. Yeah, I think her name was Dahlia. She was D002, and then D001 I think was the one inside the case. But there's 8 of them that were for the D series, right? So like, how many fucking girls went missing for each series? So there was Alpha through Echo.
Jeez, yeah.
But the Bakers had them, and they had them hidden.
Yeah. And we have evidence that the Bakers were somehow involved with Umbrella by 1992. But the events of Resident Evil 7 occur from 2014 to 2017. So they could have been housing the D series long before Evelyn ever got to them, you know? It is interesting too, if we want to discuss it. So you remember how when Wesker had Jill, he was doing experiments on her, and her like skin paled out, her hair paled out to where she was blonde. She's always had these kind of like blue gray eyes, but the rest of her like lost pigmentation. And I think it's called Zoe's End, the DLC for Resident Evil 7. Where it's like all about Zoe. When the infection, the virus that she has in her, I guess like starts to take over fully, she goes into this like crystallized version of herself, and then when she comes out, she has no pigment as well. She was previously brunette, you know, dark eyes and everything, but when she comes out of that crystallized version, or that crystallized I don't know, shell of herself, she has lost all pigmentation. So I wonder if there's not a connection there.
You see, it's weird that you say that, because like, I always thought that there was a connection to Code Veronica, because if you notice the way that they like I want to say their hair is similar. The way that they were like in this crystallized form was very, very similar.
Wasn't what's her name? Alexia, I believe is her name.
Alexia,
she was in she went into like a crystal stasis so that the Veronica virus could like incubate fully for 15 years. So maybe all those are connected.
but also Zoe, before she like goes into that crystallized state, tells Evie to stop. So maybe like it's not actually a virus that's taking over, it's more or less an entity to an extent.
I see what you're saying. Sort of similar to like the mind transfer thing. We
Well,
know that
that's what Evelyn was. She
Mhm.
infects you and then controls your mind.
Yeah.
It's like a mind control BOW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at that point, Umbrella's goal is to create bioweapons that allow them to control people in a non-violent manner, which is why they come up with the mold series.
Right, which lends to why it could be the way that they try to get to Chris in a non-violent way and just take over his mind.
Right. And like who would be more perfect for such a thing than Chris? Not only has he survived, like he's proven to survive all these other incidents, but people trust him. People see Chris as a hero. They trust him. If he walks through the door, you're gonna feel, especially if there's like a outbreak or something, you see Chris, you're gonna be like, oh, you know, he's come to save us. So I think he's a perfect candidate for such a thing.
When in fact he's not a hero.
Right, because apparently he's not a fucking hero anymore.
Apparently.
What does that mean? Yeah. And if the leaks are to be believed, right? I have a feeling that because of those leaks, they'll change aspects of the game so that it's not the same. But whether that is specifically a special ending or whatever, but if they're to be believed, you do play a chunk of Resident Evil 8 as Chris. And so I wonder what we will discover then.
Well, to make things a little bit sweeter, to sweeten that old pot, there is photo mode in this game now, which is the first ever in Resident Evil history. So we're going to get even closer looks into being able to pause the game at certain points and being able to see like what's really going on, because there was a test of photo mode that I think Capcom released. If not, I think it might have been leaked. Whoops.
Yeah.
Where they tested the photo mode, and you could see clearly that there were emblems on the wall of Lady D, her like area that she was sitting in when she was on the phone. And you zoom in, and it's like there were like emblem pieces from the very first Resident Evil game.
Oh, are we talking about the because there's an emblem right in that scene where she's on the phone with Mother Miranda. There's an emblem on the wall, and I believe that's the I cannot say her last name right now, but
Dimitrescu?
Yes. That family's crest on the wall. I heard someone say possibly that is actually like Spencer's family crest.
Yeah, because didn't, like, in the first game you had to open up the Spencer door with that crest key and was only used once?
Yeah.
But they look different. Like his crest and Dimitrescu's crest look different.
Mm.
Oh, they did. Okay. Because I haven't played the first game in a hot minute, so that's why.
Yeah. No, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
That's why we're having this discussion.
The whole thing that keeps racking in my head is it's Umbrella Co. Which apparently means Umbrella Corporation, which is Umbrella Corps, which used 3 Alpha 7 in their quote-unquote experiment, who he survived to become the new Grim Reaper, and they had sponsors looking to buy, and they had Umbrella Company Commander.
Yeah.
It would just really make me depressed if we have all these leads, and then they don't follow up on it.
They don't lead anywhere.
Ever.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, this, I feel like, is the perfect time to transition into some of our favorite moments from the Resident Evil series, because there are a lot of things that I feel like people are hyped about in regards to what they're going to see in the games, but just a lot of memories in general, because this game has been around for so long, 25 years.
Well,
so
I want to add one more thing. In Umbrella Corps, the gun that you're using is called the Cronus.
Oh.
Wait, okay.
Right.
So anyone...
And then we have the picture that is supposed to be representing of Cronus eating his kids. So I don't know. The whole thing, I'm just like, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but...
Well, just to clarify, because not everybody is familiar with mythology. So Kronos is he's from Greek mythology. He is the leader and the youngest of the first generation of Titans. Um and
So, like, check this out before you get in there.
Mhm.
So, an umbrella a corporation, the equipment that you're loaded with, right? If we're looking at the doorway,
Right.
at that doorway relief,
Mhm.
so the equipment is either called the D-brainer or the Cronus, which is also known as the zombie beetle, right? The other thing that they develop is called the tactical shield or the bite guard,
Oh.
right? And then you also have the terrain spikes or the
Right.
zombie climbing irons. And then you have the zombie jammer, which is an electromagnetic device to disorient them.
Okay.
And like almost every single one of those things is depicted in the painting or the relief, right?
Right.
We
Mhm.
have the debraining or Cronus. We got the tactical shield there, and we got the spikes.
Yes. Ooh, that's actually super interesting.
Interesting.
So to go off of that though, as well, right? So you know how the in the playthrough you see it, the daughters of Dimitrescu, they carry around little sickles as weapons, and the sort of like I guess they're zombies, the like ghouls that are within the castle also have them. Kronos, he is usually depicted as his weapon being either a scythe or a sickle. Um, he uses this to castrate and dispose of his father. But anyway, he becomes paranoid of his children, which are the gods, you know, like Zeus and you know Artemis and all them. Um, but he becomes paranoid that they're going to kill them and take over, and so he starts to consume them. And it is with Zeus allows himself to be consumed whilst he is like holding a sickle, and then uses that sickle to cut open Kronos and like you know comes out from within, sort of like a rebirth. So you know, just a little history fun facts that lend to that relief. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ever come across the flyer for Blue Umbrella in the game, their little advertisement is trying to convince you that they are reborn and have a new purpose.
Right. Yes. So these are some interesting things to keep in mind, you know, before we get into this
Yeah, because the Umbrella Corps was
game.
wanting to develop and perfect these new anti-BOW weapons, which then gets tested out by Chris with the Albert series weapons. So it's just like, I don't know. It's too coincidental for them to just be written off.
Right. And then on top of that, the ammunition that's used in the Albert series weapons are specific to BOWs that regenerate.
Yeah.
So, which we see with Evie, right? She's regenerative.
They all are. Sherry's regenerative. Like they're all regenerative. Ethan's regenerative.
Oh, right. That's right. So this is all very interesting to keep in mind when going into playing Resident Evil 8.
Yeah,
But,
that was the last thing I wanted to add.
Yeah. Okay. So.
No, it kind of ties everything together really nicely because now we just have to suffer and wait for the game.
Well, not for too much longer. May 7th is coming. It's coming quick. So
I'm shook. I'm honestly shook. I can't believe it's this soon. I feel like we only just saw the first trailer a year ago, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to play some RE-verse and punch people in the face as Jack Baker.
Honestly, oh my god, that was amazing. That DLC though, you were right. It was so much fun. That was such a good story though. Being able to punch them in the face, like I never thought that they would do that as a bad
game. And then you spend so much time using guns and weapons and shit, and fucking this guy's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna use my hands.
Yeah, which was also made by Blue Umbrella, whatever that fist weapon was.
Oh, the electric.
Yeah, that was fun.
Ones? Yeah,
that thing was dope.
Hell yeah.
That was just so much fun. I was like, you have to like literally charge up your fist. I love this.
Yeah, it looked great too. Yeah.
You guys, right now we're going to be getting into our favorite moments from the Resident Evil franchise. 25 years of history, 25 years of driving us absolutely
Yeah.
fucking bonkers. Chris, we're going to start with you. What are some
You
of your favorite
you
moments from the
already
Resident Evil
know
series?
my favorite. I don't even have to say it. It's anything that has to do
What,
with
punching?
Wesker. Well, yeah, and he beats the shit out of people.
Yo, he beats the
But
shit out of
I
Chris.
think
Let's be specific.
he beats the shit out of everyone. He doesn't
Honestly.
care, bro.
He does.
But
He does.
I think my favorite fight scene in general, I think even like cinematically, because I love film, is the fight scene where Wesker is on the balcony before he gets into his aircraft, and he fights against Sheva and Chris. And the fight scene starts by him throwing his glasses at them, and then he like
Yes.
super speed dashes through all the bullets, flips Chris, flips Sheva, and then puts the glasses back on. That whole fight scene is genius.
Is so badass. Is so cool. Especially because like you see when he throws the fucking glasses, you see their reflection in the sunglasses.
Yeah,
So
and then, like,
badass.
as he's like intertwining their arms to flip them, the camera's doing this like figure eight in between them.
Yes,
My
it's so
goodness.
good. It's so good.
I
Honestly, somebody needs a Tony for them for making that.
because I'm such a nerd, I pay attention to how the camera is moving. And I'm like, are you seeing this camera movement? This is amazing.
You're not the only nerd
Yeah.
that pays attention
Yeah,
to
and
that.
then, but also, right? So it's so funny. We were watching that scene again last night, and Chris was like, "Look at this," and he freezes the video right to a close up on Wesker's gun, and I'm over here thinking there's gonna be some lore
Oh, yeah.
tidbit, right? I'm like, oh, there's gonna be something here that's gonna help our lore theories and whatever else, right? And he goes, the safety is off, and I'm like. But, like-
oh my okay.
No,
'Cause,
but like it makes
they
sense.
don't even have to include the safety feature, but they show it and it's off and he's firing. And I'm like, this is great. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
the small details, the little details
Yeah,
they pay
it's a little-
attention to, which is why I'm like, listen, if they're gonna pay attention to this tiny little ass detail of a safety even being on the fucking gun, right? Because in truth, most people aren't looking for that when they're playing the game, right? But if they're gonna pay attention to a small little detail like that, I firmly believe that Capcom is going to do us proud and fucking tie up this damn lore, okay?
Yeah.
I stand by it.
Listen, they're not good. Their priorities. They're keeping them straight. They're not going to tie up the lore when they can add a safety button. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
My top moments are with Wesker. I like that he wears like carbon fiber, which is what Nemesis also wears. He also wears carbon fiber.
Yeah.
But the third, I think, so that was my first one. The second one would be when Wesker tells you he has 7 minutes to play with you. That line. It's one of my favorite lines ever.
Yeah, have it on a mug.
After he reveals Jill, yeah. And then the third one is actually from the movie where you see Chris and Leon very tactfully taking out these like horde of zombies.
Yes, it's in Vendetta.
Yeah, that
For,
one.
for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That whole scene is amazing.
Oh yeah. It is not only tactically like just looks amazing, right? But I feel like you really get a sense of Chris and Leon in those scenes, you know, of just like all their training, all these moments they've experienced kind of culminated into that one moment where these fucking zombies in that scene, they can't be more than 6 inches away from them. And yet they're still like with confidence, just like, no, you are not going to get me.
Yeah.
Fucking pew,
Just, like,
pew,
Close
stab.
quarters combat techniques that they were using. I saw one dude was like doing a reaction to it to see how accurate it was. And like, even though it's flashy and for the camera, a lot of the techniques still work. There was a lot of elbows being thrown to keep distance and shooting them. Like if you watch Leon, he's canting his weapon, which is turning it sideways, and keeping it close to his body for like weapon retention. And he's shooting them in the head. And so same thing with Chris. He's using his elbows and he's using the rifle to like push them back and shoot. Like the whole thing's great.
Yeah, he also has a knife that's attached to the end of his rifle
A bayonet.
to Yeah, yes, thank you. I was like, I don't know what the fucking proper name is. The bayonet at the end of his fucking gun, but he uses that as well so that he doesn't like waste, bullets.
Yeah, it's dope.
But
So
even the detail of like how he flicks out the magazine. Chris was telling me yesterday that's accurate.
oh yeah, the magazine flick. That's like the quickest way to get the mag out is by just holding the magazine release and flicking the weapons to the side so the magazine goes flying, and you can just insert a new mag right from there. So all those little details, I was like, wow, they really went in on this. They did some good research.
I thought that was really like some of the best part of the games is that how well the research is done and how thorough they are with a lot of stuff. They're not thorough with a lot, but they're thorough with that.
Stop it! Stop! They are going to. Okay, if they could put all those details and research into combat and into the weapons, they are going to do the same for the lore. Okay.
I don't know about Resident Evil 8. There was rumors of Resident Evil 9, so maybe they'll link the story in that one.
I don't listen. I don't have faith anymore. I'm slowly dying inside. Okay,
Listen,
I'm dead.
If Capcom is listening, I believe in you. I know you guys are gonna give us the lore that we deserve.
You're doing great, honey. It's like you got this. Yes. Yes, queen.
Don't listen to these naysayers, okay?
Naysayers. Sorry, I had to.
I can't stand. I literally hate it here, okay?
Oh, I'm gonna bring a little dating.
Okay. Oh, I'm done. I'm fucking done. We were talking about Resident Evil. Now they're making horse noises.
So Chastity, from watching your husband play the games, what is your favorite part?
Listen. Okay. Honestly, okay. I don't. It's hard for me to have a favorite part because I've never like physically played these games. I sort of just like enjoy all of it. You know what I mean? Like all of it is so great. But maybe
do like a top 3 like I did.
Let's see. Okay, you're gonna have to give me a second here. Because my favorite things aren't cinematic. The puzzles are my favorite.
Ooh,
those
okay.
are my favorite moments, are the puzzles. And how the puzzles in each of these games have connections to real world things. So like for example with Resident Evil 8, that relief being connected to Kronos, right? Like and then kind of like Vlad the Impaler imagery. Things like that are my favorite. I love the connection of Natalia reading Kafka, which is a real life author. That's really fucking cool. Also, side note, I just remembered this, but Kronos, it means crow in Latin. So, and there is the
crow feathers around fetus.
Exactly. So just a side note that I remembered right there. But I love, those are my favorite things in the games, is the real life connections that are put into the kind of like investigative moments of the series.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, Ariel, and you?
My top 3 favorite moments would have to be the iconic, first of all, the head turn from the first game.
Yes.
I love that. I lived for that moment. When I was a kid, it scared the shit out of me, but I loved it. I was like 10 years old, and my dad was like, "Are you sure you want to play this game, honey?" And I was like, yes, please, but I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Why do you do this? Why do you always make your father sound that way? Like every single time.
I mean, in reality, he sounds like Borat. I'm not gonna lie, with his thick accents, I mean, when he really forces it out, he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm a Borat. What's going on?" Like literally, he has the same humor as him too, so it's fitting.
Your poor father being fucking roasted on this podcast. He doesn't
just
even
like,
know.
"Can I get this new game?" He's like, "How much?"
Oh no. Honestly, like it's kind of funny because he goes in with me to GameStop and I'll just be already at the cash register. I'm paying for the game. He's like, "Oh, what did you get?"
Oh my god, stop. Oh
And
my
I'm
god,
just
Ariel's
like, "All right,
father,
calm
I'm
down."
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
He loves it though. Like I told him about the roasting and he was just like, "Hey, you know what? Sometimes I sound like Mario, Borat. It doesn't really matter."
much love to your father, okay?
Oh my god, he's a trooper. I love that kid.
Okay, so your first favorite moment is the head turn.
Was the head turn. The second favorite for me was Nosferatu in Code Veronica X. I loved seeing that character so much. I want to see that character remade because I feel like they could do it so much justice within the game series. It's that, I mean, the fact that it's, you know, me with the vampire lore and, you know, all my love for that. So I love the fact that they use that character. And the fact that it was the father, like they didn't find any use for him. So what crueler way to do that story arc than to turn him into the thing that he probably hated the most, you know? So the last thing that I really loved was in Resident Evil 7, and it's so simple, but it was so well done, of where Jack Baker says, "Welcome to the family, son."
It's iconic.
I just love that moment.
It's iconic, like, and before he punches him in the face, it is so iconic. Yes.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was one of those things before, like, it was after the debacle and debauchery of Resident Evil 6 that
game is genius, and it's the best one in the whole
series. You gotta stop hating on Resident Evil 6.
Listen, it's in my veins. I can't help it. There were some things that they did good. There were some things I was just like, you sinned. But no, that was just iconic.
What didn't you like?
I didn't like the multiplayer, okay? Resident Evil is not a multiplayer game.
I mean...
Who says that?
They kind of have showed other games where they bring in multiplayer.
First of all, it's been a pseudo multiplayer since game 1.
What? No, the very first... No.
And then, of course, you want to play with your friends, and they're like, yo, you can do the campaign together.
I mean...
Just go up to a friend and say, hey, let me play with you.
Yeah, you are. This is what happens when Ariel doesn't sleep. Okay, she gets giggly, and then she just starts being unfocused. She can't breathe. You know what I'm saying?
I can't breathe.
Look at you.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
My
chest hurts, and I can't breathe.
But all joking aside, I think the one game that they really did multiplayer well with was Resident Evil 5, because you had to have, like, one of your friends play that game with you in order for it to succeed, because let's face it, the NPC that did multiplayer for Resident Evil 5 was just disastrous on its own.
I mean...
No. Okay? You don't need a person, but you could, which was cool.
So
you could.
I
and it
enjoyed
was better,
playing.
So that's just my opinion.
I got to play Resident Evil 6 with my best friend Bailey.
Your best friend.
And my breast friend.
Yes.
He was a male with titties, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
And that's
of the
cool
game.
that that's your experience. Yeah, and that's cool that you like a sin of a game that's Resident Evil 6, and you know what? That's cool. I appreciate that.
Probably because you are not mechanically inclined and probably died a shit ton of times.
Oh,
and you're
wow.
like, this game's boring.
We're getting into a roast now, a Resident Evil roast. Let's get let's get this gluten-free bread. I'm ready.
What if Resident Evil 8 was like multiplayer?
I'd be down. I'd be down.
I'd die a little inside.
Would you be down for that?
Just
no,
a little.
But it would be so down.
No.
It would be so cool. Because imagine, right, multiplayer, but you guys start on different like parts of the map. That would.
Not every game needs to have multiplayer. No.
I mean, yeah, duh. Like
wrong. Yeah.
Not well, everything a lot of the time, but this one, no. I mean, you know what better way to say, hey, you know what? Screw you, fandom, than put multiplayer into another Resident Evil game.
Yeah, I like it. Keep it going.
I fucking with it.
At this point, you guys, I'm just trying to trigger Chris because it's fun.
I mean, you liked Resident Evil Verse. That's multiplayer.
I actually, you know what's funny about Resident Evil Verse is that when I was invited to do the closed beta, the demo didn't even work.
Hell
really?
Yeah.
That's good. We love that. We love that quality assurance.
So when I signed in, it was the funniest shit ever because when I signed into it, they asked me, okay, choose your character. And I saw that they had so many different characters. You could be a zombie, you could be Baker, you could do everything. And when I tried to choose the character, the game froze.
Oh, no.
And it literally just like went out and went back to the Xbox homepage. I was like,
So who did you pick?
Great. I picked Baker, of course. Yeah.
He gets to run
I was
around
like, I
with his
wanna
like
punch some
giant
people.
scissors or whatever those things were.
Edward Scissorhands is quaking right now.
I love it.
Yeah,
Lady
man.
it's not just one hand, it's both
Serious
hands.
scissoring going on in that castle.
You know what? Maybe shut
Lady-
up.
No, you know what it's gonna be? It's gonna be Lady Double D.
I
It's not
am
gonna be just Lady D.
so-
Okay.
I am
Lady
so-
Double D.
I am exhausted. I am exhausted.
No one
Hello?
has thought of that. I am taking credit for that.
I
Full on copyright.
I don't think that they gave anyone any choice. She has the biggest titties, so like I think
She has big mama gahamas, okay?
large.
They're proportionate to the body.
I mean, they are. She's 9 feet fucking tall. Like,
So she's the vampire version of Nicki Minaj, is
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yes.
that's what I'm saying exactly.
Okay, good. No, I just find it interesting because it's like so many of the Resident Evil games, we went from the very first one, which was actually supposed to be multiplayer, but the technology was not available back in the late 90s. So Shinji Mikami was like, okay, we're going to go with the third person over the shoulder camera angle. And I think, like, my biggest theory is I think that's why he went with multiplayer when he could, because he was kind of living out that dream of his of, like, wanting it to be multiplayer at first.
Yeah, I mean, also, right, like we probably shouldn't pigeonhole these creators into when they're making these games, whether they be a part of a series or not, into like what is acceptable for the game and what isn't. You know what I mean? Because like,
oh, I know. I just like
yeah, no,
them.
absolutely, and that's fine. Pick away, but yeah. So I think it's like you said. He's probably always wanted to make a multiplayer and then saw an opportunity, and so now he's like, okay, we're coming out with a multiplayer.
Yeah. Resident Evil has tried every kind of game style under the fucking sun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Giving credit where credit is due, they're not afraid to experiment at all.
Right, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's what keeps the series itself fresh, right?
Each one has like a unique experience, whether it's like tank controls and fixed cameras because you can't fucking see.
Yeah, so that
Over
adds
the
to the fear.
Yeah.
Third person.
You know what's interesting about like tank controls is that they were a bitch to deal with, but once you get accustomed to them, they're not too entirely bad.
You kind of like adapt. You're like, I got this.
It
just sucks when you're shooting something off screen.
Right, and then you can't see it.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like the tyrants.
I think
in the
I'm hitting
airplane.
him.
No. No, I just can't. Like with that in particular, I think the worst tank control Resident Evil game was Code Veronica X because it had the automatic aim at certain points. So when you were hitting something, you weren't sure if it was like the right target that you were hitting.
That's fantastic. But that adds to the fear element, no? Like that adds to the horror element. I don't know. I appreciate them for trying like all these different game styles, right? Because then it just goes to show there's literally a Resident Evil game for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Zero, because nobody talks about Zero. I feel like Zero is one of the best Resident Evil games out there.
I kind of lump 0 and 1 together because like
they occur at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I miss Billy.
Yeah, because technically
Billy's
it is a
fucking
prequel.
cool.
He's still out there.
Billy was bae.
His tattoo is a queen tattoo. Like he's dope as fuck.
Yeah, he's still out there, guys. He didn't die.
I want him to make a return in Resident Evil 25. Okay. For the 25th anniversary, I want him to make a return. I want him to like be as buff as Chris was in Resident Evil 5. Like that would be dope. Okay.
All his training.
I want him to push a boulder and say, "I'm back, bitches."
I had something I wanted to say about Resident Evil. Oh, so when they were making Resident Evil 8, they were also making several other Resident Evil games at the same time. They were making the remakes for which one? For 4. And then there's
0,
another one. Is it
which they're
0?
calling Outrage. Yeah.
Yeah, Outrage, and then Resident Evil 9. So since they were working on these things all at the same time, obviously, there was teams dedicated to each one. But I wonder if we're gonna get like maybe instead of DLCs, it's gonna be Resident Evil 8, the remakes, and then Resident Evil 9, kind of like pushed out one after another.
Yeah, I think.
It could be, because that's kind of what they did with the 2 and 3. They did
And
them
the
so
worry
close
is that
together.
they're gonna push it out too fast, like they did with Resident Evil 3, and it's gonna be dog shit.
Honestly. I mean, like, I loved the way that they did some of the character remodeling, but that game was way too fucking short.
Oh, for 3?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
apparently
even
a lot of
speedrunning
people had
it, and it's
issues.
done in like an hour.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, whenever you play through the 3rd game, like, I love the way they did the Nemesis, and they did some character aspects correctly, but they didn't even add in certain puzzles, and they didn't add in the choice for the second ending option, which is you fly away in a helicopter with Barry, and Barry is like an iconic scene that you see at the end of one of the game, like at the end of the game with your
Barry
choice.
comes and saves Jill. It's dope.
Huh, I wonder why they
Exactly.
chose not to have that in the remake.
Because it's Capcom.
That is not an answer!
True. It makes sense to me. They don't care about us.
I mean,
Well,
they're just like, oh my god, these bitches, are they trying us right now? Okay, no Barry for you. Thanks, bye.
punishment because you guys keep talking about how they don't finish their list. That's what it is.
They're like, oh,
No, it's
Did you
punishment
like-
because I called Lady D.
did you actually like Jake? If you liked him, no more Jake.
Oh yeah, that's true. Did you like Wesker's son? Too
Yeah.
bad.
Did you
No.
like Carlos? Do you want a Carlos in this world? Too bad. No more Carlos. Thanks, man. Did you like Hunk? He's only available in mercenary minigames. Fuck you. I'm like, oh my god.
Why did you have like a Russian accent with that? It's like, no more for you, okay?
No more for you.
We have your papers this
Because
time.
no soup for
No
you. No soup for you.
Instead of soup, you're going to get toothpaste, you fuck.
Wow. Okay. We have delved into
Some
the
toothpaste be slapping.
Stop it! Oh my god!
Oh my god, yeah.
If they had a Resident Evil toothpaste, I'd buy it.
That's fair.
It's probably gonna
It-
just
it-
gonna come
oh,
out
and
in
it could
tube
be
all red and
right in-
slimy.
Yeah, it could be white and red.
Yeah. And then you
Boom.
can also get the blue umbrella version.
Ooh, minty fresh.
Yeah, but also
Yes.
if you eat that toothpaste, mind control
There you
instantly.
go. Boom.
Oh, good. I'm tired.
come
I'm
out-
tired. So
They
please
come
go.
out with the charcoal version, which would be the mold, which would be the
Ooh, look at this.
Hello?
Hello.
come contact with me, okay? I'll help you out. We'll create some merch together, okay?
Yeah.
We've delved into the silly. So
And then you know what? They'll create a toothpaste that's the regenerate.
yes.
Ah, you never run out of toothpaste.
Hey. All right.
Oh man, we're losing it.
So I think it is safe to say we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And so
we speculate that we know, but in all actuality, we may be completely off kilter here.
Take this podcast with a grain of salt.
We gave a disclaimer. Resident Evil 8. We have no fucking clue.
Now, for people who are listening and who really love and enjoy the lore of Resident Evil, just in its entirety, I know they're gonna, really respect and enjoy this. But for people who really have no fucking clue what Resident Evil is, you're welcome.
Yes, now you
First
know.
of all,
You're
hi.
welcome.
Now you know. So you're welcome,
Yes,
bitches.
go play the games, watch the movies, read the mangas. Bam.
Exactly. Go collect the figurines. Don't play with them because just keep them for safekeeping.
Yeah.
You're
Suck
gonna
on
get
the
something.
eternal teat of Resident Evil.
Jesus
I-
Christ.
On the double D.
On the
team.
double
Is that
double
what I'm
Dimitri
saying?
Sue.
Yes.
The Demetrius or how
Wait, Dimitri Skew? What? She's not skewing anywhere.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what's
my
happening.
God.
All right.
Happy Monday. When we're filming this. Because we're posting this on Friday. You lucky bastards.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But you guys, I think that ends off a lot of our discussion, unless there's anything else that we want to add to the cacophony of chaos that we have created.
I think that's really it. Anything else is
alliteration
just
master.
Wait, what was that?
what?
The alliteration
Oh
master.
yeah, thanks.
Oh,
Bows.
My God.
takes a little bit of a bow there for the Dimitri tit. Sorry.
so
This is gonna be an ongoing joke now.
You
I
know-
can't. Like I can't stop.
anything I was gonna say, I forgot. So that's that.
You ever have like that commercial where you see the Staples button? It's like, that was easy. I mean, I feel like that should be the slogan of
Yes.
this podcast right now. That was easy. When in reality it wasn't, and it's just a bunch of fucking sarcasm. No, I'm just joking. But okay. You guys, that was this podcast. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. I hope you all had a fun time listening to this chaos. Because I honestly, I had fun recording this. Guys, in all actuality, Resident Evil 8, it's going to be incredible. I can feel it. Even more so than Resident Evil 7, I feel like it's going to be really, really good. We're really excited for it to release on May 7th. Don't forget to pre-order now. Not sponsored by Capcom, although I wish I were. I probably would know a lot fucking more about the lore if I were. So, yeah, you guys, if you all like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube, and follow if you are listening on Spotify. Hit the bell for more notifications, and we will see you guys in the next podcast, which I'm sure will be equally as chaotic, right, you guys? Maybe.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely, always is.
Yes, bitch. All right.
Ah.
Okay,
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. We're gonna go more coffee. Bye.